Do you guys remember the good old days of classic JRPGs during the mid 90s to early 2000s? When we were all but starry-eyed kids discovering what a video game was like for the first time? When games like Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VII were at their peaks in popularity? Games like those were cultural phenomenons during their time and were responsible for shaping many of our childhoods. But as the years went on, these games fell more and more by the wayside, making way for a new era of modern gaming. And unfortunately, games like these are a rarity now in the current modern gaming landscape. Old school JRPGs just became less and less popular over time, and because of that, they don't really get made anymore. That is, until very recently they started to make a resurgence, and a very small indie studio released one of the best 2D RPGs I've played in a while. Yes, I am talking about the long-awaited release of Sea of Stars. Now, if you haven't heard about this game, Sea of Stars is a retro-inspired 2D turn-based RPG that aims to bring the nostalgia of classic JRPG titles and combines it with modern quality of life updates to make a game that's just as fun as the classics while also streamlining the experience for modern audiences. If you're a fan of the old school classic JRPGs like Final Fantasy VII, Chrono Trigger, Super Mario RPG, or any of the other many great games within the genre, then you have to try out Sea of Stars because this is a love letter to the fans of those games. Sea of Stars has everything you can ask for in a classic 2D RPG. It has a great story, interesting characters, engaging gameplay, amazing world building, a unique art style, and a fantastic soundtrack. This is one of the best indie games to release this year, and if you're a fan of classic JRPGs, then Sea of Stars will be right up your alley because this is a gem that is a must play. Now, what about this game specifically makes it so good? Well, Sea of Stars borrows a little bit of everything from all the classic JRPGs and seamlessly incorporates them into its very own gameplay. One of the best aspects of this game is the really engaging combat that not many turn-based games do anymore. You see, the combat in many other turn-based RPGs usually have you select your skill from a list of options, then you just sit there and watch your character do the attack, and that's it. There's usually no other input required from the player after they select their skill. But in Sea of Stars, they kinda add a little more to that process by making the player an active participant in the battle. Now, what do I mean by that exactly? You see, in this game, whenever you do an attack or a skill, you have to actively time your button presses when your skill connects in order to deal more damage or heal more health. This means that the battles aren't just a test of strategy, but it's also a test of skill as well. For example, the Moonerang skill bounces between you and the enemies, and if you deflect the attack at the right time, it continues the bounce chain. Now, if you're skilled enough, you can continue this bounce chain infinitely, which allows you to deal a nearly uncapped amount of damage. Or whenever you take an attack, you can time your button press whenever the enemy swing connects to reduce the damage by quite a substantial amount. This system is a breath of fresh air and makes the turn-based combat much more engaging because you actually have to keep focus on the battle at all times if you want to do the most amount of damage while taking the least amount of damage. Every encounter in this game feels much more tense here because messing up your button timings could be the deciding factor between victory and defeat. I'm surprised a lot of turn-based combat games don't do this. Now, of course, this game is a turn-based RPG, meaning that you're going to be controlling a party of teammates, but Sea of Stars is a bit different. You see, you can only control 2 to 3 members at a time instead of the standard 4-member team comp, but the caveat is that you can swap them out at any time for free. This allows you to play the combat to its fullest potential without ever having to worry about team composition, and each of the party members that you do acquire have their own unique roles that they fill, which makes it so that none of the members ever feel useless or unused. Like Garl, the warrior chef, who's really useful for his utility, or Sarai, the portal assassin, who's really useful for her disruption. There are more members that you can get later on in the game, but that's spoiler territory. The point is that every party member has their own special role to play in your team composition, so none of them will ever be sitting on the benches doing nothing the entire game. And with the added bonus of everyone in the party getting the same amount of EXP, there's no need to ever grind to keep everyone on the same level. And this makes for a much smoother experience for the casual player who just doesn't want to grind to have to keep up with the enemies. Speaking of the casual player, this game is very easy to get into because there are so many quality of life updates to the old school classic JRPG formula that streamlines the experience of the game so that people of all skill levels can enjoy Sea of Stars. For example, whenever a party member gets knocked out, it doesn't mean that they stay down until you revive them. In fact, they just get back up after a few turns. And the only way to really get a game over screen is to have your entire party knocked out at the same time, which is pretty hard to do admittedly. This means that you never have to hoard a bunch of revives just in case a boss one-shots one of your party members in battle. Now I won't lie, this does make Sea of Stars a little more on the easier side of the difficulty spectrum. I mean, I doubt an average player would ever see a game over screen even once because of just how forgiving this game is. But that's not really too much of a problem because you can always just make the game harder with the relics. So really there's a little bit of everything for people of all skill levels here. But what's also great about this game is how it does exploration because it's actually really fun and rewarding to do. You'll go through a number of different islands and areas in this game, all with their own unique aesthetics and biomes that make them so memorable to explore. Sea of Stars has such an incredible visual art style that pays homage to how the retro games used to look and feel. And the soundtrack that was composed by Yasunori Mitsuda, who's made music for games like Xenoblade Chronicles and Final Fantasy, captures the essence of the classic JRPG feel. Everything about this game just screams retro. Even the 2D sprite work in this game is absolutely beautiful, with so many characters having their own unique animations and environments having so much detail that it makes the world feel so alive. Like on one of those islands, there's a giant sleeping dragon coiled around the middle of it that may or may not be important to the story. Or the first island that has a giant stone golem literally named Yeet, who, you guessed it, yeets your party across the ocean as a means of fast traveling, which is pretty funny. Or of course when you finally traverse the Sea of Stars, you know, the thing that this game is named after, you just get to see this sense of awe of how big this universe really is. There's just so many unique characteristics about this game that makes it so interesting to learn more about. And what makes these islands so enticing to explore are the plethora of hidden secrets and extra side content placed all over the game that will keep you playing for hours and hours on end. For example, you're able to find some really powerful skills and combo attacks hidden throughout this game. That's right, in this game you can find skills that you use in battle out in the open world. That's because this game doesn't use any sort of skill trees or job systems like many other standard RPGs do. Instead, Sea of Stars opts to give you all of your useful skills and combo attacks through exploration. This makes it so that you're actually incentivized and rewarded for going out of your way to explore the world and look for numerous hidden objects littered throughout it. And for the people like me who love to explore and do every bit of side content, then you'll love the sheer amount of stuff to do in this game. Because if you want to truly do everything in this game, then you'll find that there's over 30 plus hours of content here, which is pretty insane for a small little indie title like this. Now what also makes Sea of Stars so great is the really interesting story that kept me hooked the entire way through. Without going too much into spoiler territory, the story is about these two twins named Zale and Valerie? Whatever, these two siblings are the last of the Celestial Warriors, an order created to maintain the peace in the world, which is currently being threatened by the Fleshmancer. Our main duo Zale is blessed with the powers of the sun, and Valere is blessed with the powers of the moon. And with both of their knowledge and training, they set out into the world to find the Fleshmancer and put a stop to his reign of terror. Now the story itself is pretty much a retelling of the classic JRPG stories when a ragtag group of adventurers set out to save the world with some slightly different twists to it. But overall, it's a familiar kind of story that we all know well and love. And that's okay because Sea of Stars is more about the compelling world and the lovable characters living within it. The story still managed to keep my interest because there's still enough substance to keep me compelled the whole way through. And if you're the type of player who loves to explore comfy game worlds and learn more about its lore, then you'll probably love this game because it's just a cozy experience the whole way through. Overall, Sea of Stars is such an incredible experience for the old school classic RPG fans. It's basically an old JRPG from the early 2000s brought over to the modern age with all the passion and creativity and none of the tedium that the genre is known for. Every aspect of this game was just oozing with soul, and I couldn't help but love every moment of this game. The gameplay is smooth and engaging with the active time participation that rewards skilled players for being good at the game, but it's not too punishing for people who aren't as skilled. The world is rich with lore and there is so much to explore here. There is almost always something hidden within every nook and cranny of this game that rewards you for taking your time to go out of your way and see everything that this world has to offer. And the story is a really comfy experience the entire way through. Even though you're out to save the world from utter destruction, fun, you still take the time to get attached to all of these characters. All this combined to make Sea of Stars one of the best indie RPGs of the year, and if you're a fan of the genre, then this is a game that you need to try out. But that's just me. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know down below and make sure to like, comment, subscribe for more reviews in the future. See ya.